In this presentation, we address emotional intelligence. So what exactly is emotional intelligence? Really, it's a matter of understanding yourself, how you react, how you behave, how you contribute to any given situation, how you react to other people in terms of recognizing their emotions and behaviors and being sensitive to that and having a sense of empathy, and being able to control yourself, whether that's through body language, through actual words, or by managing your emotions so that you're not impulsively reacting to a situation. So really what you're trying to do is perceive the emotions of yourself and others, understand them, put them into context, manage them so that they fit appropriately for the situation. You might have heard the expression of blowing things out of proportion. You don't want that to happen. And to use those emotions effectively. So for example, if you're wanting to provide comfort for someone who is down, or helping them celebrate something joyful. So you have personal components of emotional intelligence that help you understand yourself in the moment. Okay, when this kind of situation happens, this is how I tend to react. And you understand your patterns, and you start understanding why you react the way that you do. Then there's also the management of these feelings so that you don't act impulsively, say something out of the heat of the moment that you can't take back. So really being able to keep your cool, keep that poker face, and to maintain. The social components of emotional intelligence are really how you interact with other people. And so it's the idea of being able to see things from their eyes, from their point of view, walking in their shoes. What's going on with you right now? Why do you seem to be acting the way you do? Is there something else going on that might have precipitated those emotions or behaviors? And the idea of being able to effectively manage your relationships. So things like being okay with making a sacrifice or a compromise, or being diplomatic when you disagree with something, being respectful of each other so that you've got a healthy relationship with another person. So some examples here that demonstrate those concepts not only display the emotion, but the reaction or the behavior that follows. So you have to be careful about not acting on your emotions. There's nothing wrong with having that feeling or that emotion, but is it appropriate for the situation? Is the level of that emotion appropriate for the situation? And is your behavior exhibiting appropriate display of that emotion as well? When you're thinking about emotions, there's a lot of complexity. Some of that includes the vocabulary, which really talks about the depth, the variety, the severity. So when you look at something like this, can you tell the difference between when you're annoyed and when you're angry? Can you tell the difference of when you're anxious and you're nervous? It might just seem semantic to talk about words this way, but there's a reason those words exist. They actually exhibit and explain the levels and the shades of gray of emotions. And that's when you can really do that and apply those concepts, you're much more likely to be able to control those behaviors and those reactions. You also need to be aware of things in real time when they're happening. Do you notice when you're getting snippy because you're angry and frustrated about something? Do you recognize your senses, your body that's changing? Your face is getting flush. You start actually flexing muscles and feeling uncomfortable or fidgeting, and really recognizing all those pieces to your emotional well. Can you recognize things like facial expressions, not only in others, and can you accurately recognize the kind of feelings being displayed, but also yourself? That's what I was talking about with the poker face. You know, when someone tells you something, if you have that disgusted look on your face, they might say, is there something wrong? And you really don't mean that, or it isn't something maybe you want to share. So you have to be very cognizant of those things. So what's really causing those emotions? Well, as I mentioned, maybe somebody's going through a rough time and it's coming out in their emotions. Maybe somebody lost their job, so they're very anxious, they're very stressed, they're worried, they're scared. So when you talk with them, they might be very short or they might sound angry. Well, when you're emotionally intelligent, you have that empathy and that compassion for another person because you're really trying to understand what's going on with them and why, and displaying some genuine concern. So thinking about the background, the situation, maybe even the person that they're interacting with, you would react differently with some friends than maybe your ex. Maybe they're talking about a hot button topic, something you're very sensitive about, or you're feeling defensive or scared because you feel like that person is very strong about that subject, or they're trying to bully you into thinking or feeling something. And a whole bunch of different cognitive distortions that really might be influencing your point of view and clouding your judgment. And there's a handout in the content that talks about cognitive distortions. You might want to read about that to better understand them. So when you really understand that root cause of the emotions, you really can get a much stronger, better understanding of why you react the way that you do and why other people might be reacting in their situation. So let's think about feelings and their resulting actions. When you use this phrase, when I feel whatever emotion, I typically act in a certain way. You can start to understand, hey, wait a minute, I might have a pattern here, or why do I react that way when I have this emotion? And you can really start digging deeper to figure this out. So for example, when I feel anger, I typically attack. Or when I feel sad, I typically withdraw. Well, why is that? Why don't you seek help? Why don't you want to talk with someone? Why do you feel defensive? So those emotions are internal, the behaviors are external. You have to understand the connection between the two before you can start controlling them and modifying them to feel better about what you're doing. Unfortunately, stress plays a big part in that, and you have to think about not only what stresses you, but your perception of a situation that can really affect it. So what can you do to calm that stress? Well, Google it and you'll find 1,000 things. But bottom line is you have to find something that gives you flow. And what that flow is something that, go to your happy place, you might have heard. It's staying away from those damaging behaviors like drugs and alcohol and dangerous behavior, and finding things that can take you away from those stressful situations and give you a breather for a moment. You want to be able to lose yourself in them, but not get lost in them so you lose motivation. Here are a few clips from Steve Harvey that I think really explain stress well.
In order to develop and to change and to grow, stress is necessary. So you got to be willing to go get it every day. There's a story my father told me all the time. Now, I've heard it several different ways, but I'm just telling you the way my daddy gave it to me. He said, son, he said, every morning on the plains of the eastern Serengeti Desert, there arises a gazelle that realizes that he must run faster than the fastest lion, or he will be eaten and he will die that day. On that same desert arises in the morning a lion that realizes that he must run faster than the fastest gazelle, or he will starve and he will die that day. He say, son, the moral of the story is, no matter who you is, when you wake up in the morning, you needs to be running. No matter, and he said, no matter who you is. This proper grammar is who you are, but my daddy didn't do that, and I was comfortable with it. And so what he taught me was a work ethic of how to work. In order to get to where you want to go, you got to put yourself under some stress, though. See, stress is necessary.
Now, when you talk about stress being necessary, you also have to think about how it's going to motivate you.
But a seed has to be planted. A seed got to have dirt put on top of it. If you take a seed and throw it on the concrete and walk off, the sun just burn it up. But guess what? Logically, in my mind, it doesn't make sense that to grow something, you should dig a hole, put it down in there, and cover it with dirt. Logically, that don't make no sense to me. But oh, though. See, dirt is necessary for growth and development. Dirt builds character. Dirt gives you the push-through factor. Dirt makes you come with it when you don't feel like coming with it no more. And you get dirt in a lot of different ways. All of y'all that had dirt thrown on you. And dirt ain't always what you want. It's somebody talking about you down on your job. It's somebody accusing you of something that you didn't do. It's somebody telling you you ain't gonna make it. It's somebody sharing information about you that ain't true. That everybody get dirt put on them. But see, when you're getting put under that stress, please know God is always working. Kirk Franklin's song, God is always working, so I smile. Because I know he back there. See, that dirt builds character in you. When they talking about you, it teaches you to withstand it. Then it gives you something to push through. So when you put the seed and you put the dirt on it, if you understand stress, stress really ain't just dirt. Stress, see, they don't call it dirt when they plant it. They call it soil. Because, see, soil has nutrients in it. What the nutrients, when people talking about you, dogging you, lying on you, backbiting, stealing from you, talking about you, they're actually putting nutrients in you. They're building character. You got character now. Now the seed, if they put a camera under the ground, you'd have seen the seed sprout open and start coming through the dirt. Because the dirt is necessary so you can prove yourself. You know, if you don't really want to be, everything you see above ground that blossoms and plants and grows and that's beautiful, it was underground one time. All them potatoes, collard greens, they was underground one time. Them apple trees, they was underground one time. So they had to prove themselves. See, you want to be successful, well then you got to prove yourself. You got to push through the dirt. You got to come up through here. You got to come out. Then you sprout, and then Bishop say, then you become a tree. Next thing you know, you got fruit. So when you under stress, take the stress for what it is.
Now that you understand a different perception of stress, how hard is it for you to actually stay successful?
You don't want to try the 100 push-ups. They take rocket ships, take them to the moon, orbit, bring them back, land it in the same place it took off from. You don't want to try the 100 push-ups? Right. You don't really think you can do the 100 push-ups? See, the thing about push-up is, once you get started, it's difficult. But let's say by the grace of God, somehow you get 20 cranked out. Right. And then you just keep on, and then you throw some prayer in the game, and the next thing you know, you got 40 knocked out. But you steady pressing. What you don't see is you developing a strength with that pressing. And then somehow you get to 70 and you look up and everything on you shaking. Your teeth is cracking. Your eyes is busting out your head. You can't believe what's happening to you. You get to 80, your clothes don't look the same no more. You somehow get to 90 and it's all coming loose now. And then through prayer in some kind of way. You ain't got to know how. You just got to start. See, too many people try to figure out the how. Now you're trembling. You're shaking. Everything in you is about to blow up. But you done 100 push-ups. Now, somebody come to you and say, man, you say, well, I did the 100. I'm successful now. And then you say, well, good. Now I'm successful. What I got to do to stay successful? Hold that position. After you done 100, lock and hold. That's how hard it is to be successful. But in that mere description right there, most people go, I ain't finna try that. What got me to this position is, I went ahead on and tried it. I didn't even have the ability. And I still have struggled. But guess what? I'm holding. But I ain't holding by myself.
So remember, you have control of your emotions, you have control over your perceptions, and if you want to manage your life and your relationships, you need to think about how stress is affecting it and what you can do to create flow in your life.